Hello YouTubers, what is the fastest speed that you have seen on the rowing machine screen? Let me know in the comments below, because we're about to watch someone beat that speed, but not just for one stroke, but for 500 meters. We've got some footage filmed by Adam Neal, my ex-pair partner, filming Phil Clapp do the 500 meter world record with an astonishing pace at 110.5, which is absolutely outrageous. But before we get to see that, I ask you guys for two things. Number one, if you could hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and if you've already subscribed, please hit that like button. Really helps out the channel a lot. But now it is time to head into the Max Watts piano room, where the 500 meter world record on the Concept 2 rowing machine was
Yeah, Phil.
Yep.
Yeah.
Move.
Yeah, Phil. Yeah, move. Yeah, Phil, good start. Yeah. Yeah, Phil. Yeah, tackle. Yeah. Yes, come, Phil. Yeah. Move. Yeah, move, Phil. Move. Yeah, back, move, yeah! Yeah, move, yeah! Yeah, them, Phil, them, yeah, move!
And that was Phil Clapp setting a 500 meter world record on the Concept 2 indoor rowing machine. And the splits that you see on the screen, they're absolutely outrageous. For those of you that haven't been on a rowing machine and seen how fast you can go, I really recommend getting on a machine and seeing if you can get anywhere near those scores. For me, 110 for one stroke is a push, but as you saw, some of those numbers were approaching the 1 minute barrier, which is absolutely outrageous. So I've been speaking to Phil over the last couple of days after he set this world record, just about some questions that I know the Yam Squad will be curious to know the answer to. So let's just go straight to the questions. How long have you erged or rowed for? Well, Phil said he's been rowing since he was 13, but he's had a long break from 21 to 25. He's a couple of years older than that now. But he is still producing outrageous amounts of watts. Next question. Do you erg full time? Phil says no, he does not. He is a professional sailor, and erging came about just to keep fit for the sailing, and having something to train for helps him keep motivated through the winter when he's training alone. It made a big difference when I got a coach to help me last year, and I've reached a level of performance I used to openly say I thought wasn't possible. Which is really, really interesting, because I remember talking to him last year when he was trying for the minute world records, the 1K world records, and different things on the either ski erg or the indoor static Concept 2 rowing machine. I remember specifically him saying 110, I can't do it. I can't do 110. And then, like he said, he's switched up his training program. He's got a new coach with a very, very different approach. Let me know in the comments below if you would like to have a conversation with him about this different approach that he's doing to training. But clearly it's worked. He's went from a sort of 112.4 to a 110.5 and setting a new world record. So 2 splits, 2 seconds may not seem a lot, but it is a huge, huge chunk off of his time, as well as setting a new world record, which is absolutely amazing. What is your biggest achievement on the rowing machine? Well, he says the 500 meters he thinks is his biggest achievement. He's broken many ski erg world records and the 1 minute, but this was the one he always aspired to. And I think some people can do 100 meters, like you see some really big guys pull out some outrageous numbers and just first time on the rowing machine do really close to the world record, say for a short distance. 500 meters is still a short distance, but I think it's long enough where you need to kind of train for it. And I think that's why I'm speaking for Phil here. This could be completely wrong, but I think not everyone can just rock up and do 500 meters this fast. I can get nowhere near doing 500 meters this fast, and I would like to know what you could do doing 500 meters as fast as you can. But I think, like he's saying, this is his biggest achievement. I would agree. I think the 500 meters is something outrageous, especially knocking a good chunk off his previous best, which was, like I said, 112.4 roughly. Okay, now on to some questions relating to the world record itself. Phil, what was your strategy for the 500 meters? And he said the strategy was to go as hard as he possibly could every single stroke from the start. And you can see from the splits that he was generating from the start, he managed. And then almost, you could say he blew up towards the end as he slowed down, but he put so many watts in at the start that it was almost a case of holding on, I would say. He also goes on to say he improved his technique a lot from last year, mainly trying to use more body rock and keeping the strokes as long as possible. So I could probably use some of that advice as well, trying to, like I experimented with high rating 2Ks, brought it down a little bit, and maybe could generate some more power with longer strokes, which does make a lot of sense, obviously. But for me, still have to work on that strength aspect. For Phil, he is outrageously strong, obviously generating outrageous numbers, which leads into the next question. What is the fastest split you've seen lately? And this is crazy. A 102. A 102 split on the rowing machine, 1 minute and 2 seconds for 500 meters. If you could hold that, that's just ridiculous. I think that's around 1500 watts, maybe even more. It's just mind-blowing. And last question to Phil. If any of the Yam squad or anybody watching this video wanted to do a 500 meters as fast as they could, or even attempt to break the 500 meter world record, do you have any advice for them? He says the training for 500 meters is very different to how you would train for a 2K or rowing events longer than 2K. There is far more of a strength and power component, which puts value on lifting weights in the gym rather than doing more of the cardio that you would see for preparing for a 2K race. Coupled with that, I would also say that the start is the most neglected section of ergo training. So it makes sense that since it's a shorter piece, 500 meters versus say the normal distance for rowing tests of 2K, that there's a shift of not necessarily cardiovascular fitness needed, it's more shifting to a power focus, a strength focus. But the last bit he said about the start being neglected in ergo training, I find really interesting, because I've never seen anyone practice a start on the erg. Obviously, I've seen people try and do max watts, which you could kind of say is a start, but I've never practiced a start like I would on the water. So that's really interesting. Maybe I should start practicing starts. And a start, for those that don't know, is literally just the first few strokes of a piece. So on the water, you will have a set guideline, and if you're in a boat with more than yourself, 2, 4, 8 people, you'll have a set sort of guideline of strokes where you go, the first stroke is a certain length, second stroke is a certain length, third stroke is a certain length, and you work through that as a crew together. But you don't really talk about that on the rowing machine, which is really interesting. And for Phil, doing world records, the faster he can get his split to where he wants it to be, the faster his overall average is going to be. So it's really important there, which I didn't really think about. So that will be it for the conversation with Phil Clapp. Again, still working on the name. Yam Talks, Yammerings, the Yammerings, the Yam Squad Yammerings, or something along those lines. I really appreciate it, Phil. Thank you, Adam, for the filming as well. Absolutely outrageous to see the world record happening right in front of our eyes on video, kind of. And as well in the piano room of peace. That piano has seen more watts put down than any piano in the entire world. Many watts told by that piano. But that will be it for today's episode, Yam Squad. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Something a little bit different, trying to introduce the Yam Squad to the world of rowing and what happens. Maybe a news segment, the Yam Squad Yammerings, should become more apparent. And to finish off the vlog for today, we have Yam. To finish off Yam Squad Yammerings. Oh, yeah! And as always, Yam Squad, remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button. And we'll see you in the next episode of the vlogs. Oh, yeah!